It all started as a perfectly ordinary day, or so I thought. Little did I know, my life was about to spiral into chaos, so absurd it could only be described as a nightmare wrapped in dark humor. At first, I believed I had everything under control, my secret relationships carefully compartmentalized, each man neatly tucked away in their own little corner of my world. But then Mike, my lover from work, showed up unannounced at my doorstep, clutching a folder filled with confidential documents that could ruin both our careers if discovered. His sudden appearance sent me into a panic. "What are you doing here?" I hissed, glancing nervously over my shoulder. He smirked, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. Before I could shove him out of sight, the doorbell rang again. It was Ethan, my gym boyfriend, drenched in sweat and holding a protein shake like some deranged offering. "Surprise!" he chirped, pushing past me before I could stop him. And just like that, the house became a ticking time bomb. Every second felt heavier than the last, every decision more desperate. Where would I hide them? What if they found each other? My mind raced faster than my heart, which was now pounding like a war drum. This wasn't just trouble anymore, it was an avalanche of betrayal, lies, and testosterone-fueled egos crashing down on me. As the chaos in my house escalated, Mike, the man who was supposed to be just another fleeting affair, revealed himself as a ticking time bomb. Not only was he my boss at work, but he also carried with him a contract that could make or break both our careers. "Sign this now, Lucy," he demanded, his voice low yet dripping with authority. If anyone found out about us, my professional life would crumble like a house of cards. But before I could even process his ultimatum, Ethan burst into the room, flexing his biceps like a warrior ready for battle. His confidence shattered the moment he saw Mike glaring back at him. "Who is this guy?" Ethan spat, stepping closer to me. When I hesitated, his demeanor shifted from cocky to downright menacing. "You've got 2 seconds to explain yourself, Lucy, or I swear I'll expose everything." The air grew thick with tension, and I felt trapped between their egos, each more explosive than the last. Just as I thought things couldn't get worse, Alex appeared at the door holding a tattered notebook, the same one I had kept hidden since 7th grade. My stomach dropped as he flipped it open, revealing pages filled with secrets I never wanted to see the light of day. "Remember these?" he sneered, waving the journal in front of me. "Either you agree to marry me right here, right now, or everyone gets to read your darkest confessions." His words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me breathless and cornered. Amidst the madness, Patrick, my unsuspecting neighbor, knocked on the door. He had simply come over to complain about the noise, but quickly became entangled in the web of accusations when Ethan mistook him for another lover. Meanwhile, Father O'Malley arrived clutching an anonymous letter accusing me of immoral behavior. His stern expression suggested he wasn't leaving without answers. Then came the final blow. A furious woman stormed in, brandishing photos of her husband and me together, along with intimate text messages. "This isn't over," she hissed, vowing to take legal action against me. With every new arrival, the walls seemed to close in tighter, suffocating me under the weight of lies and betrayal. The chaos in my house reached fever pitch as each new arrival turned the situation into a circus of absurdity. Mike, desperate to avoid detection, squeezed himself under the bed like a beached whale. But his bulky frame wouldn't cooperate. His legs stuck out awkwardly, and every attempt to wiggle further only made more noise. "For God's sake, Lucy," he whispered harshly, sweat dripping down his face. Meanwhile, Ethan refused to hide in the closet, claiming he had claustrophobia, though it was clear his real fear was the dark. Instead, he bolted for the balcony, where he clung to the railing with white-knuckled terror. A sudden gust of wind nearly sent him tumbling over the edge, prompting a strangled scream that echoed through the neighborhood. Things escalated when Alex, already on edge from holding onto my old journal, spotted something moving near the bed. "There's a rat down there," he shrieked, pointing wildly at Mike's protruding feet. The commotion drew everyone's attention, and Mike let out an involuntary groan as Alex accidentally kicked him while stumbling backward. Father O'Malley stood frozen by the door, clutching his rosary beads and muttering prayers so fervently it sounded like he was trying to exorcise the room. His presence added a surreal layer of tension, making the scene feel less like reality and more like a twisted morality play. Then came the woman I recognized immediately as one of their wives. The fury in her eyes could have melted steel. She stormed in, waving photos of me and her husband together, yelling accusations loud enough to wake the dead. Her voice sliced through the air like a knife, silencing even Ethan's panicked cries from the balcony. Just when I thought things couldn't spiral any further out of control, Patrick reappeared, pale-faced and shaking. He'd called the police after hearing what he assumed was a burglary. The distant wail of sirens pierced the night, sending shockwaves through the room. Everyone scrambled frantically. Mike tried and failed to pull himself completely under the bed. Ethan leapt back inside from the balcony, narrowly avoiding falling to his death, and Alex dove behind the couch, still clutching my damning diary. Even Father O'Malley abandoned his prayers, ducking into the hallway just as red and blue lights began flashing outside the windows. For a brief moment, all eyes met mine, wide with panic and accusation, before the first knock on the door sealed our collective fate. Just as the chaos seemed unbearable, Charles, my husband, burst through the door like a storm unleashed. His face was red with fury, his eyes blazing with betrayal. In one hand, he clutched a kitchen knife, its blade glinting menacingly under the flickering light. "So this is how you repay me?" he growled, pointing the knife at Mike, who had finally managed to squirm halfway out from under the bed. The room froze for a split second before erupting into pandemonium again. Ethan lunged toward Charles, attempting to defend himself, but Alex grabbed his ankle midair, yanking him down with a thud that shook the floorboards. "Stay out of this," Alex snarled, hitting Ethan beneath him as they wrestled violently on the ground. Meanwhile, Mike tried desperately to reason with Charles. "Listen, man, it's not what it looks like. We were just, But every word only made things worse. Charles cut him off with a roar, advancing menacingly. "Don't give me your lies," he shouted, gripping the knife tighter. The air crackled with tension as everyone realized the situation was spiraling dangerously close to violence. Father O'Malley, still clutching his rosary beads, stepped forward hesitantly. "My children," he began, raising his voice over the commotion, "let us find forgiveness and compassion in our hearts." But no one paid him any heed. Instead, Ethan shoved Alex off him and accidentally knocked the priest backward into the corner, where he landed awkwardly among scattered pillows and broken glass. The woman, the furious wife, was now hysterical, screaming at the top of her lungs about justice while hurling random objects across the room. A vase shattered against the wall inches away from Patrick, who ducked just in time, shouting, "I didn't sign up for this." Her rage seemed to fuel the fire already consuming the room. Even Lucy, standing paralyzed in the center of it all, felt powerless to stop the escalating madness. Every accusation, every shout, echoed louder than the last, drowning out any hope of resolution. Charles turned slowly, scanning the faces of the men around him, each one guilty in their own way. "You all think you can take what's mine?" He spat, his voice dripping with venom. And then, with a chilling calmness, he added, "Well, let's see how brave you are when I start cutting." Just as the room seemed on the verge of imploding, another figure appeared in the doorway. This man was impeccably dressed in a crisp suit, his glasses perched neatly on his nose, holding a book that looked like it had been borrowed decades ago. I'm here to return this overdue library book, he announced calmly, adjusting his tie as if oblivious to the chaos unfolding around him. But no one believed for a second that his intentions were innocent. A library book? At this hour? Charles barked, his voice dripping with sarcasm as he brandished the knife menacingly. The man adjusted his glasses nervously but maintained his composure. Yes, well, better late than never, he replied, attempting a weak smile. His attempt at nonchalance only deepened everyone's suspicions. Was he another secret lover? A spy sent by one of Lucy's betrayed partners? Or perhaps an accomplice to her web of lies? No one dared ask, but their piercing stares spoke volumes. Meanwhile, Ethan, the self-proclaimed gym superhero, was visibly crumbling under the weight of Charles's wrath. Gone was the confident bravado he had displayed earlier. Now he cowered like a frightened child, trembling uncontrollably. Please, ma'am, I didn't mean any harm, he stammered, raising his hands in surrender. It was just a fling. Nothing serious. His plea fell flat against Charles's steely glare. You think begging will save you? Charles snarled, taking a step closer. Ethan stumbled backward, tripping over a pile of discarded clothes and landing hard on the floor. The once mighty gym trainer whimpered pathetically, clutching his knees to his chest as though trying to shield himself from impending doom. Amidst the escalating madness, Father O'Malley struggled valiantly to maintain some semblance of order. He paced back and forth, clutching his rosary beads tightly, muttering prayers under his breath. But even his patience had limits. When yet another argument broke out, this time between Mike and Alex over who deserved Lucy more, the priest snapped. Enough, he roared, his voice thunderous enough to silence the entire room. Every head turned toward him in stunned disbelief. What is wrong with all of you? Have you no shame? This isn't a house, it's hell. And I'm not staying here another minute. His face was flushed red, veins bulging in his neck as he pointed accusingly at each person. You call yourselves Christians? Look at what you've done. Lies, betrayal, violence. This is supposed to be a sanctuary, not a circus. With that, he stormed toward the door, nearly colliding with the man in the suit, who still clutched the library book awkwardly. Out of my way, the priest growled, shoving past him without a second glance. The tension in the room reached unbearable levels as accusations flew like daggers. The strange man in the suit tried to slip away unnoticed, but Lucy blocked his path. Who are you really? She demanded, her eyes narrowing suspiciously. He hesitated, then sighed heavily. Fine. If you must know, I'm from the chess club. We met last month during your strategy session. His words hung in the air, dripping with innuendo. Gasps erupted from several corners of the room. Even Charles paused mid-threat, momentarily distracted by this new revelation. But before anyone could process what they'd heard, Patrick the neighbor, turned unwitting participant, burst into panicked laughter. This is insane. Absolutely insane, he exclaimed, clutching his sides. I came here because of a noise complaint, and now I'm trapped in some twisted soap opera. His outburst triggered a chain reaction. Ethan started sobbing uncontrollably. Alex began frantically flipping through the old journal as if searching for answers, and Mike attempted to crawl further under the bed, despite already being stuck. Meanwhile, the furious wife continued hurling insults, her voice growing hoarser with every word. It was clear that the situation had spiraled far beyond anyone's control. When the police finally arrived, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow over the chaos, the scene inside was nothing short of a war zone. Officers poured in, demanding explanations as they separated each individual for questioning. Charles, still clutching the kitchen knife like a relic of his fury, shouted accusations at everyone within earshot. She's behind all of this, he bellowed, pointing at Lucy, who stood silently by the doorway, her expression unreadable. Mike attempted to explain himself, but stumbled over his words when pressed about his relationship with Lucy. Ethan, now visibly shaken and stripped of his bravado, muttered something about just being friendly, while Alex clutched the old journal protectively, refusing to hand it over despite repeated requests. The furious wife screamed endlessly about betrayal, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Even Father O'Malley couldn't escape scrutiny. Officers eyed him suspiciously as he rambled on about morality and sin. Yet, amidst the cacophony of conflicting stories, Lucy remained eerily silent. Her cold, calculating gaze swept across the room, lingering briefly on each face before she turned abruptly and walked out without so much as a word. No one stopped her, not the police, not Charles, not even Patrick, who seemed too stunned to react. As the door clicked shut behind her, a collective shiver ran through the group. Was this part of some larger plan? Had she orchestrated everything from the start? Questions swirled in the air, unanswered and heavy with dread. The tension reached its peak when yet another figure emerged from the shadows outside the house. Dressed in a somber black suit, he approached the officers calmly, introducing himself as the lover from the funeral. His voice carried an unsettling calmness, sending chills down everyone's spines. "I believe I have information relevant to your investigation," he said smoothly, handing over a sealed envelope. Inside were photos of Lucy attending multiple funerals, always accompanied by different men. Each image told a story darker than the last, hinting at connections far deeper and more sinister than anyone had imagined. As whispers erupted among the crowd, the man tipped his hat and disappeared into the night, leaving behind only unease and unanswered questions. It was clear that Lucy's web of deceit was far from unraveled, and whatever came next would be anything but predictable. This chaotic tale is more than just a comedy of errors. It's a biting satire on the fragility of trust and the destructive power of deceit. Lucy's web of lies spirals out of control, dragging everyone into a vortex of absurdity that exposes the raw consequences of betrayal. Each character, whether Mike hiding under the bed, Ethan trembling in fear, or Alex clutching her old journal like a weapon, embodies the chaos wrought by dishonesty. The humor lies not in their suffering, but in the sheer exaggeration of their predicaments. A priest shouting obscenities, a furious wife hurling accusations mid-crisis, and even a man claiming to be the lover from the funeral. Yet beneath the laughter lies a sobering critique of modern society, where fleeting connections often replace meaningful relationships. In an age dominated by social media and superficial interactions, people easily entangle themselves in complicated affairs they cannot manage. Lucy's story serves as both a warning and a mirror, reflecting how far individuals will go to satisfy selfish desires, and how quickly everything can collapse under the weight of their own making.